Hi everyone, it's Nicole here today from Mama Elephant, and I have a designer series project featuring the brand new Sunny Skies Creative Cuts dies that coordinate with the Sunny Skies stamp set. And my card today showcases how to create a watercolor type card using the stamps, die cut them with the coordinating dies, and create a background and a whole scene using Mama Elephant stamps and dies. What I'm doing first is stamping the hot air balloon from Sunny Skies on some watercolor paper. I'm coloring in each section of the hot air balloon with a different color of distress marker. These distress ink markers from Ranger react and work well with water, so this is going to be great for watercolor techniques. I'm stamping them on some Holtz watercolor paper on the smooth side. You can see I flipped it a minute ago. One side is a little rough and the other side is smooth. I'm going to use the smooth side. Then using a damp paintbrush. It's not wet. I don't want it to be so wet that it causes those drips and things. Sometimes that look is what you're going for. For this, I simply want to smooth out those colors and blend them together and really make it pretty, because as it is now, it doesn't look as nice as it could. So I am taking that damp paintbrush. I am rinsing out my paintbrush between each color transition, but I'm taking that damp paintbrush and just smoothing out that color, and it really looks pretty. You can see now from the left side to the right just the difference it makes applying that water on top of the distress ink. I'm just squeezing out any of the excess and then smoothing it all out. It kind of pulls it to any of those open areas that don't have ink or it didn't transfer that well when I stamped it originally. I'm using the Barn Door Spiced Marmalade mustard seed, I believe, Mowed Lawn, Faded Jeans, and Seedless Preserves ink for the hot air balloon, and then some pumice stone for just that little bottom portion of the hot air balloon. Finishing smoothing out a little bit of my watercolor here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just love how it looks with that smooth, with all of the ink colors smoothed out. Once I have that, I want to ink up a few more elements for my card. I'm going to be using this solid cloud from Sunny Skies and the Tumbled glass distress marker, and instead of coloring in the entire cloud or using the ink pad to ink it up, I'm simply taking that brush tip from the distress marker and just going around the outside edge of the card and stamping it on the watercolor paper. The reason I did that is I don't want my whole cloud to be blue, and I'm just going to simply take my damp paintbrush now and pull that color in just a little bit. Smooth it out. It doesn't have to all be blue or anything out. I just want to smooth out any of those rough edges and pull in a little bit of that color to the center of each of the clouds. It's really quick and easy, and it's a great way to get a watercolor look easily if you're like me and maybe not much of an artist. I don't really draw I don't draw any of my own types of images or things like that, but this really allows you to look like an artist very easily. I'll let those dry. I am going to take the heart from the Sunny Skies stamp set as well and stamp that on my watercolor paper. Oh, I need to use the basket for the hot air balloon. I'm going to use a little frayed burlap for the basket. And I'm not really going to do a whole lot of watercoloring to that. I'm just going to barely get my paintbrush wet and just smooth out the color if it didn't stamp very nicely or all the way, but I really don't want to blend the individual little sections together there. So now I will take that heart, and I am much like the clouds, I'm going to only ink up the edges of this solid heart stamp image so that I can pull in the color rather than stamping the entire image and then just applying water over the top of it. It gives it a little bit more of a watercolor-ish type look, I think, stamping it this way. And you can see that the color pulls in nicely from the edges to create a solid stamped heart. I did end up taking a couple of other colors of distress ink to make a couple more different colored hearts, using also the Faded Jeans and Mowed Lawn. I'll set those aside to dry for a little bit, and once they're dry, I am going to be die cutting them with the coordinating creative cuts that just came out this month. I love that Mama Elephant is releasing coordinating dies for past stamp sets. Makes it so easy to cut out all your images without having to fussy cut them. I'm using a little bit of this Post-it tape to hold my dies in place over the stamped and watercolored images. I don't want them to shift when I put them through my Big Shot machine. So I will simply die cut out all of the pieces that I need, and then I'm going to create the sunshine background for my card before I put it all together. Now I'm taking another piece of the Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and I'm going to be taking this yellow distress marker. I'm using the mustard seed and wild honey, and I'm just, again, because these are solid sun ray images, I am only inking up the edges mostly. I'm not really being very particular about it on this stamp, and stamping it across my entire background. And just like the other images for this stamp, I'm going to be taking a damp paintbrush and blending those colors together for a soft watercolor looking background. I've used this sunshine many different ways. I've used it with the rock and roll technique, using pigment inks, or just a solid ink color. There's just so many different ways you can use these same stamps simply by changing up ink and the technique that you're using with the stamps. So I just love that. And I love using a couple of different colors here on the sun rays, and with the watercolor technique gives it a little bit more depth and dimension. I'm going to continue to blend all of these out, and it's such a difference from how it looks just stamped and then once you apply the water to. Soft, pretty sun rays. Now I am going to be applying a piece of vellum over the top of this to help mute it just a little bit when I go to apply the other stamped and die cut images over the top of my card design. So I have all of that painted. I'll set it aside. Once it's dry, again, I'm going to use a little Post-it tape and hold the stitched rectangle femme frames over that and die cut my sunshine background. I'll die cut another piece from the vellum like I was talking about a second ago, so I can layer that over the top. I've also die cut a couple of pieces of cardstock, gray cardstocks I should say, using the Cityscape die. Now I'm going to stamp my greeting. This greeting is from the brand new My Sunshine stamp set, and I'm using some white and red embossing powders for my greeting on the vellum. And I'm going to layer on these Cityscape dies. I've die cut them from the Smoke and Slate Simon Says stamp cardstocks, and I'm applying those directly to that sunshine background, and then I will adhere my vellum on top of that. Now I'm not going to apply the vellum yet because I'm going to hide my adhesive behind all of the other elements. You can see I also placed one of those clouds back behind the vellum. I like doing that. I think it gives more depth and dimension to the design. I'm putting some Wink of Stella clear glitter pen over my hot air balloon. And then I'll apply all of my little elements. I'm going to use a little liquid adhesive to apply one of those die cut watercolor hearts. The quick stick tool is great for any small little die cut pieces that are hard to handle with your fingers. Now I'm going to hide my adhesive like I was talking about behind those elements, and then I'm going to use a little liquid adhesive behind the greeting and in the corners of the vellum and apply that over the other piece. And I like to just stick something heavy on top of that to dry. And once it's dry, I'll add some foam adhesive and apply it to a white cardstock card base. The supplies I've used are linked below the video on YouTube. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe for more videos weekly showcasing stamping, card making, and scrapbooking projects. Thanks for watching, and we will catch you the next time.